Psychology of Human Behavior and Social Intelligence. Mastery. There is a moment in everyone's life when you look at another person's face, listen to their words, and yet feel that something deeper is happening beneath the surface. You hear what they are saying, but you know there is more behind the tone, the hesitation, the silence between sentences. Perhaps it was during a conversation with a friend who said, "I am fine," but whose eyes were heavy with sadness. Or in a meeting where a colleague smiled politely, but their clenched jaw revealed tension. In those moments you sense something, but cannot quite put it into words. This is the mystery of human behavior, the language beneath the language, the unspoken truth that governs every connection we have. Most people move through life unaware of this hidden world. They focus on words but miss the emotions. They watch actions but ignore the motivations. And as a result, they stumble through misunderstandings, broken relationships, and missed opportunities. They feel disconnected from others and even from themselves, not realizing that the bridge to deeper connection has always been there, waiting to be crossed. That bridge is social intelligence, the mastery of understanding human behavior and using that understanding to connect, influence, and thrive. If you follow this book to the end, you will gain something far more powerful than just knowledge. You will develop a new lens through which to see the world. You will recognize patterns in people that once confused you. You will know how to read emotions before they are spoken, how to sense tension before it explodes, how to turn conflict into connection. You will discover how your own behavior, your posture, your tone, your habits, shapes the way others respond to you. And with this awareness, you will no longer feel like life is happening to you. You will begin to shape it consciously, mastering both your inner world and your social world. The core philosophy of this book is simple, yet transformative. Human behavior is not random. It follows patterns shaped by psychology, emotion, and social dynamics. When you understand those patterns, you gain the power to navigate life with clarity. Confidence is no longer about pretending to be strong. It is about understanding what drives you and others at the deepest level. Influence is no longer manipulation. It is alignment with human needs and desires. Connection is no longer luck. It is the art of listening, seeing, and responding to what is real, not just what is presented on the surface. We live in a time of noise. Technology has given us constant communication, yet many feel more disconnected than ever. We send messages but fail to connect hearts. We collect contacts but lose relationships. And deep inside there is a hunger to be understood, to be seen, to be valued. This hunger is universal, and the one who learns how to meet it will never lack influence, respect, or love. Social intelligence is not a luxury skill. It is survival in a world where human connection is the greatest currency. So let us begin this journey together. I will not speak to you as a lecturer, but as a companion who has wrestled with the same questions. Why do people act the way they do? Why do we sabotage ourselves when we know better? Why do we hide our true feelings behind masks of politeness? And how can we finally learn to live and connect with authenticity and strength? This is not just theory, it is lived truth drawn from psychology, behavior, and the struggles of real life. If you choose to stay with me through these pages, you will not only learn about human behavior, you will learn about yourself. You will begin to see the invisible strings that guide your decisions, your relationships, your fears, and your dreams. And as you recognize them, you will find that you have the power to cut the strings that hold you back and strengthen the ones that pull you toward growth. This is mastery, not control over others, but mastery over yourself and the way you connect with the world. By the end of this book, you will not only understand people, you will move through life with the quiet confidence of someone who knows what drives them, what connects them, and what sets them free. That is the promise I give you. This is not just psychology, this is transformation. Chapter 1. The Mirror of Behavior, Why We Do What We Do. Every human being wakes up each morning and immediately steps into a performance whether they realize it or not. The performance is not fake. It is simply the way we have learned to survive in the world. A smile when we are tired, a polite "I am fine" when we are aching, a nod of agreement when our hearts are screaming "no." From the moment we interact with others, we begin to shape our behavior to meet expectations, avoid judgment, and protect our vulnerabilities. But beneath this performance, beneath the carefully crafted masks, lies the raw essence of what drives us: our needs, our fears, and our unspoken desires. To master social intelligence, we must first understand this truth: human behavior is always a mirror reflecting the unseen forces within. Take, for instance, the person who constantly interrupts others. On the surface, you might see arrogance or impatience. But look deeper, and you may discover insecurity, an unconscious fear that if they do not speak quickly enough, they will be ignored. Consider the individual who avoids eye contact and keeps conversations brief. To some, it appears as rudeness, but at its core, it may be self-protection, a shield against being seen too deeply, a fear of rejection disguised as indifference. This is why true understanding requires more than observation. It requires empathy, the ability to look beyond the behavior into the story it is telling. So many of us are trapped in cycles of misunderstanding because we judge behaviors at face value. We get angry at the friend who cancels plans repeatedly without pausing to consider that perhaps they are battling exhaustion, depression, or fear of intimacy. We criticize the colleague who seems overly competitive without recognizing that they grew up believing love was earned through achievement. We distance ourselves from the partner who withdraws during conflict without realizing that they learned silence as the only way to survive chaos in their childhood home. Behavior is not random. It is the visible symptom of an invisible wound, belief, or need. Why then do people get stuck repeating the same patterns even when those patterns harm them? Psychology gives us a clear answer. Human beings crave certainty even when it is painful. The brain prefers a predictable misery over an unfamiliar possibility. That is why someone who grew up in chaos often finds themselves drawn to drama. As an adult, it feels familiar. That is why people who fear rejection sometimes push others away first. It gives them control over the inevitable. These unconscious patterns become the autopilot of our lives, guiding us until we choose to wake up and rewrite them. But here lies the problem. Most people never stop long enough to question their own behavior. They judge others harshly, but they rarely hold a mirror to themselves. They believe they are logical when in truth they are deeply emotional. They believe they are choosing freely when in truth they are driven by old stories written long before they had the power to choose. To break free, to truly master your behavior, you must have the courage to ask, why am I really doing this? What am I protecting? What am I afraid of losing? These questions pierce through the mask and bring you face to face with the truth. This is where transformation begins. Imagine the freedom of no longer being controlled by hidden fears. Imagine responding to someone's anger with calm curiosity instead of defensiveness because you recognize their anger is pain in disguise. Imagine watching your own habits with awareness, catching yourself in the moment and choosing differently. This is the power of social intelligence. It does not change who people are, but it changes how you see them, how you respond, and ultimately how deeply you can connect. Let me tell you a story. A young woman I once worked with had a habit of constantly pleasing others. She said yes to everything, even when it left her exhausted and resentful. On the surface, she seemed generous and kind, but her kindness was not free. It was fueled by fear. She had grown up in a home where love was conditional, where mistakes were punished by withdrawal of affection. So as an adult, she believed that the only way to be safe was to keep everyone happy. Her behavior was not kindness, it was survival. Once she realized this, once she saw the mirror clearly, she began the slow process of setting boundaries. And with each boundary, her confidence grew. She no longer gave to be accepted. She gave because she wanted to. That shift was liberation. You may see yourself in her. You may see yourself in the interrupter. the avoider, the competitor, the one who withdraws. The truth is, we are all carrying invisible scripts that shape how we act. But here is the gift: the scripts are not permanent. You can rewrite them. You can choose new standards, new behaviors, new ways of being, but only if you are willing to face the truth of what your current behaviors are telling you. The mindset shift is: this behavior is communication, not identity. The person who lies is not necessarily a liar. They may be afraid of being punished for honesty. The person who shouts is not necessarily cruel. They may be desperate to be heard. The person who withdraws is not necessarily cold. They may be overwhelmed. When you begin to see behavior as communication, you stop labeling and start listening. You stop condemning and start understanding. And when people feel understood, they soften, they open, they trust. This does not mean you excuse destructive behavior. Understanding does not mean tolerating abuse or manipulation. It means you gain clarity. You know why someone acts the way they do, and you decide consciously how to respond. You can set boundaries without hate. You can walk away without resentment. You can forgive without forgetting. This is emotional mastery, responding with strength and compassion instead of reacting with blind emotion. Think of the possibilities if you lived this way. Imagine entering a heated conversation with a calm mind, able to see not only the words spoken, but the emotions driving them. Imagine building relationships where people feel deeply seen because you notice the small cues they themselves are unaware of. Imagine no longer being confused by your own habits, but instead using them as signals to heal old wounds and grow stronger. This is not fantasy. It is the reality of those who master social intelligence. So let me challenge you. Tonight, before you go to sleep, reflect on your day. Ask yourself, what did my behavior reveal about me today? Did I avoid a conversation out of fear? Did I speak louder than necessary because I wanted control? Did I overcommit because I feared rejection? Be honest. No one else needs to know your answers, but you must know them, because awareness is the first step toward mastery. And as you reflect, remember this: your behavior is not fixed. It is not who you are, it is simply what you have learned. And anything learned can be unlearned. Anything practiced can be replaced. You are not a prisoner of your past. You are the author of your future. And the pen is in your hand right now. If you have listened this far, it is because something inside you is hungry for growth. You are tired of drifting through interactions without truly connecting. You are tired of repeating old cycles without understanding why. You are ready to master not only the way you see others, but the way you see yourself. That hunger is the beginning of transformation. Take this moment to pause and commit. Write down one behavior of yours that you know is a mask, a habit born from fear rather than truth. Then ask yourself, what would courage look like in this area? How would I act if I trusted myself completely? This is your first step into mastery. If these words have awakened something in you, share your reflection in the comments. Tell me one behavior you are ready to examine, one mask you are ready to remove. And share this message with someone you care about, because the world needs more people willing to live with awareness and authenticity. Do not just keep this to yourself. Spread it. And remember to subscribe, because the next chapter will take us even deeper into the psychology of human interaction and the keys to unlocking true social intelligence. Chapter 2. The Emotional Compass. Understanding the Power of Feelings. Every decision you have ever made, every relationship you have ever entered or ended, every word you have ever spoken, it all began with a feeling. Logic often comes later, dressed neatly in explanations and reasons, but the truth is that emotion was there first, guiding the hand that turned the wheel. We like to believe we are rational beings, that our choices stem from careful thought, but the deeper reality is this: we are emotional beings who justify with logic. Emotions are not distractions from reason. They are the compass of human behavior. And if you want to master social intelligence, you must learn how to read that compass in yourself and in others. Think of the last time you made a choice you regretted. Maybe you snapped at someone you love. Maybe you agreed to something you did not want. Maybe you walked away from an opportunity because fear disguised itself as caution. What drove you in that moment? It was not logic. It was an emotion. Anger, guilt, fear. These emotions colored your perception, changed the story you told yourself, and directed your actions. This is the hidden power of feelings. They bend reality. To the angry person, everything feels unjust. To the anxious person, everything feels risky. To the joyful person, everything feels possible. Emotions are the lens through which we see the world, and that lens determines the path we walk. This is why people get stuck. They believe emotions are the enemy, something to suppress or ignore. They are told to be strong, which often means hide your feelings. But emotions are not weaknesses, they are signals. They are messengers carrying information about what matters most to us. Anger points to a boundary crossed. Sadness reveals a loss or unmet longing. Fear signals danger or uncertainty. Joy confirms alignment with what we value. When you ignore emotions, you silence the compass. You wander blindly repeating cycles without knowing why. But when you learn to read emotions, they become your greatest guide. Let us look at a common struggle: fear of rejection. This fear paralyzes millions of people. It makes them avoid conversations, hold back their true thoughts, and settle for less than they deserve. On the surface, it looks like shyness or politeness, but beneath it lies a powerful emotional story. If I show who I am, I will not be accepted. This story may have roots in childhood, in a moment when love felt conditional. And so, as adults, many carry this fear like a silent burden shaping every interaction. To break free, you must not deny the fear, but face it. Ask, what is this fear protecting me from? Is it true that rejection defines my worth? The moment you see the story clearly, you gain the power to rewrite it. Another example, anger. Most people believe anger is destructive, something to be avoided. But anger itself is not the problem. The problem is how we respond to it. Anger is simply a signal that something feels unjust or misaligned. It is the fire that says, pay attention. Something here matters. If you repress anger, it festers into bitterness. If you unleash it recklessly, it burns bridges. But if you listen to it, anger becomes fuel for change. The activist who fights injustice, the parent who protects their child, the leader who refuses mediocrity, they are all guided by the fire of anger, transformed into purpose. This is emotional mastery, not silencing emotions, but channeling them. Why then do people struggle to understand emotions in others? The reason is simple. We often mistake the surface for the source. Someone raises their voice and we label them rude. Someone withdraws and we label them cold. But beneath those behaviors are emotions waiting to be understood. The raised voice may be fear of being ignored. The withdrawal may be shame disguised as indifference. The person who brags endlessly may not be arrogant but desperate for validation. This is the secret of social intelligence: to see beyond the mask, to ask, what is this person really feeling? The answer is rarely what they show on the surface. To illustrate, imagine walking into a room and noticing a colleague avoiding eye contact. Most people would assume disinterest or hostility. But what if instead you paused and asked yourself, what might they be feeling? Maybe they are overwhelmed with stress. Maybe they are nervous. Maybe they are afraid of being judged. That shift from assumption to curiosity changes everything. Instead of reacting with defensiveness, you respond with empathy. You ask a gentle question, you offer support, you create connection. This is the power of seeing emotions not as problems, but as windows into the human soul. Consider relationships. How many conflicts spiral out of control, not because of what was said, but because of the emotions beneath the words. A partner says, "You never listen to me." The other defends, "That is not true. I always listen. The argument escalates. But the true message is not about listening. It is about a feeling of being unseen, unvalued. If one partner had paused and asked, "What are you really feeling right now?" the conflict could have turned into connection. This is the heart of emotional intelligence, listening not just to words, but to the feelings they carry. So how do we build this mastery? The first step is awareness. Start with yourself. Throughout the day, ask, "What am I feeling right now?" Do not settle for vague answers, like fine or stressed. Be specific. I am frustrated because I feel unheard. I am anxious because I fear failure. I am joyful because I feel aligned with what matters. This clarity gives you control. Instead of being swept away by emotions, you begin to use them as information. And once you can do this for yourself, you can do it for others. The second step is curiosity. When you encounter someone's behavior, pause before reacting. Ask, what might they be feeling? What need are they trying to meet? This does not mean excusing harmful actions, but it does mean seeing the humanity beneath them. That simple shift can turn confrontation into compassion, defensiveness into dialogue, distance into connection. The third step is courage. Emotional intelligence requires the bravery to express your own feelings honestly. To say, "I feel hurt," instead of hiding behind silence. To admit, "I am afraid," instead of pretending to be in control. To share, "I am grateful," instead of assuming others know. Vulnerability feels risky, but it is the bridge to real connection. Without it, relationships remain shallow. With it, they deepen into something unbreakable. Here is the mindset shift. Emotions are not weaknesses to suppress. They are strengths to understand. The person who denies their emotions is not strong. They are fragile because anything can break through their mask. The person who embraces their emotions is powerful because nothing inside them is hidden or feared. They walk through the world with clarity, able to respond with wisdom instead of reaction. This is the foundation of confidence and influence. Let me leave you with a challenge. Tonight, write down the 3 strongest emotions you felt today. Then ask yourself, what were they trying to tell me? Did I listen or did I ignore them? How did they shape my behavior? This exercise may seem small, but it is the beginning of a new way of living. When you learn to listen to your emotional compass, you stop being tossed around by the storms of life. You begin to sail with direction, with awareness, with purpose. If these words resonated with you, I invite you to share your reflection below. What emotion has been guiding your life most strongly lately? Fear, anger, joy, or something else? Share it honestly because your story may unlock someone else's awareness. And remember to share this message with a friend who needs it. The world changes when people learn to feel, not just to think. And do not forget to subscribe because in the next chapter, we will explore the psychology of influence, the subtle forces that shape human interaction and how you can master them to build deeper, stronger connections. Chapter 3. The Subtle Art of Influence, Guiding Without Forcing. Think back to the times in your life when someone changed you without ever demanding it. Perhaps it was a teacher whose quiet confidence inspired you to believe in yourself. Perhaps it was a friend who never lectured but whose example showed you a better way to live. Or maybe it was a leader whose presence alone made you want to rise to your highest potential. Influence is often misunderstood. People think it is about power, persuasion, or manipulation, but real influence is none of these. Real influence is the ability to guide people without forcing them, to shift the energy of a room without raising your voice, to inspire change simply by embodying it. The reason most people fail at influence is because they confuse control with impact. They try to convince, argue, pressure, or dominate. But when you push, people resist. It is human nature. When someone feels forced, they defend themselves, even if what you are offering could help them. Influence is not about pushing, it is about pulling. It is about creating such an energy of clarity, confidence, and authenticity that others are naturally drawn toward you. Just as flowers turn toward the sun, people turn toward those who radiate genuine power. Why is this important for social intelligence? Because life is built on interactions. Every opportunity you gain, every relationship you keep, every conflict you resolve, all of it depends on your ability to influence others. Without influence, you may be talented, but unseen, wise, but unheard, passionate, but ignored. Influence is the bridge between your inner world and the outer world. It allows your vision, your values, and your gifts to reach others in a way that creates change. Without it, your brilliance stays locked inside. So how does influence work? Psychology gives us many answers, but the simplest truth is this: people are moved not by what you say, but by how you make them feel. Logic may open the mind, but emotion opens the heart. If you want to influence someone, do not only speak to their reason, speak to their humanity. A story is more powerful than a statistic. A genuine smile is more persuasive than 1,000 arguments. People may forget your words, but they will never forget how you made them feel. One of the deepest struggles people face is the fear of rejection. They want to influence others, but are terrified of being ignored or judged. So they stay silent or they overcompensate by trying too hard. Both paths fail. The truth is that influence requires courage, the courage to show up fully, to risk being seen. Influence is not about being perfect, it is about being real. When you share your truth with vulnerability, you give others permission to do the same. When you embody your values consistently, you show others that change is possible. This is how influence works, not through force, but through example. Consider this: a person who argues endlessly about kindness will change few minds, but a person who lives with kindness, even in small acts, will inspire countless hearts. Influence is less about speaking and more about being. People are always watching, always sensing. They pick up on your energy before they hear your words. If your energy is aligned, confident, compassionate, authentic, they will feel it. They may not know why, but they will be drawn to you. Why then do so many people struggle to influence positively? Because they have not yet learned to influence themselves. The first person you must learn to guide is you. If you cannot calm your own fear, how will you calm others? If you cannot inspire yourself to act, how will you inspire others? Influence begins within. Self-mastery creates social mastery. The person who has learned to discipline their mind, channel their emotions, and live in alignment with their values naturally radiates authority. Others sense it, they trust it, they follow it. Here is the mindset shift. Influence is not about power over others. It is about power within yourself. The moment you stop chasing approval and start embodying truth, you become magnetic. You no longer need to prove, push, or persuade. You simply live in such a way that others cannot ignore you. Influence is not manipulation. It is authenticity amplified. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. Most people will try to prove themselves by talking loudly, by showing off, by forcing attention. But the truly influential person does the opposite. They walk in with quiet confidence. They listen more than they speak. They make others feel valued. And because of this, people remember them. Influence is not about dominating the spotlight. It is about making others shine in your presence. This is the paradox. The less you try to control people, the more you influence them. The less you seek approval, the more respect you gain. The less you chase validation, the more trust you build. True influence is effortless because it flows from alignment. When your words, actions, and energy match you, become undeniable. People may not always agree with you, but they will always feel your authenticity. And authenticity is the most persuasive force in the world. So how can you begin to cultivate this subtle art? Start by asking yourself, what energy do I bring into a room? Do you bring anxiety, neediness, and insecurity? Or do you bring calm presence and strength? People are influenced more by your state than your statements. If you want to influence others, master your state. Breathe deeply before important conversations. Ground yourself in your values before you speak. Enter every interaction with the intention not to control, but to connect. Next, focus on listening. Most people think influence means speaking more. The truth is, the best influencers are the best listeners. When someone feels deeply heard, they open their heart. And when the heart is open, influence becomes natural. Practice listening without interrupting, without preparing your response, without judgment. Listen for what is not said as much as for what is spoken. In those spaces of silence, you will find the key to true influence. Finally, remember that influence is not about quick wins, but lasting impact. Anyone can pressure someone into compliance for a moment, but real influence changes lives long after you are gone. Ask yourself, am I trying to win this moment, or am I trying to create lasting change? The first is manipulation. The second is mastery. If you are still with me, it means you are ready to step into this deeper level of living. You are not content to simply exist in the background of life. You want to leave an imprint, to make others better, to walk into rooms and elevate them simply by being there. That is possible for you, not someday, but starting now. Take a moment to reflect. Who has influenced you most in your life? Was it someone who forced you, or someone who inspired you by example? Share that story below. It matters because influence is not only something you learn, it is something you pass on. And if you found value in this message, share it with someone you care about. Influence multiplies when shared. And subscribe, because in the next chapter we will explore one of the greatest secrets of human behavior, the mirror effect. Why people reflect back the energy you give them, and how mastering this can change every interaction you have. Chapter 4. The Mirror Effect. How others reflect your energy. There is a quiet truth about human behavior that most people never realize. People are mirrors. They do not only respond to what you say, they reflect who you are. If you approach someone with tension, they will mirror back defensiveness. If you walk into a room carrying joy, you will find others smiling even without knowing why. This phenomenon is not mystical. It is psychological. Human beings are wired to mirror one another. It is how we learn, how we connect, how we survive. And once you understand this, you gain one of the greatest powers in social intelligence, the ability to shift interactions by mastering your own energy. Think about the last time you were around someone who was deeply anxious. Did you feel yourself becoming tense even if you had no reason to be? Or the last time you spoke with someone who was truly calm, present, and grounded, did you not feel safer, more at ease? This is the mirror effect at work. People reflect back the energy they are given, often unconsciously. It is why an angry person can spread hostility through a group in seconds, and why one person's laughter can light up an entire room. Yet here lies the problem: most people are unaware of the energy they carry. They walk into situations unaware that they are broadcasting insecurity, neediness, or irritation, and then they wonder why others treat them poorly or fail to respect them. The truth is that others are not reacting only to your words, they are reacting to the energy beneath them. Your state of being shapes their state of being. Your energy sets the tone. The psychology behind this is called emotional contagion. Research shows that human beings unconsciously mimic the expressions, postures, and emotions of those around them. It happens without thought. If someone near you yawns, you feel the urge to yawn. If someone smiles, you find yourself smiling back. This mirroring is so powerful that entire cultures are shaped by it. Families, workplaces, and communities adopt the emotional climate of their most dominant personalities. This means one person's energy can alter the entire atmosphere of a room. This is why mastering the mirror effect begins with mastering yourself. You cannot demand positivity from others while radiating negativity. You cannot ask for respect while embodying insecurity. You cannot expect calm interactions if you enter with agitation. People will not follow what you say, They will follow who you are. If you want others to mirror confidence, you must embody confidence. If you want others to mirror respect, you must embody respect. If you want others to mirror openness, you must embody openness. Imagine two leaders giving the same speech. One speaks the words of hope but carries hidden fear. The other says the exact same words but radiates conviction. The difference in impact is enormous. People do not only hear the message, they feel the messenger. And in life, people always believe the energy over the words. This is why a child may obey a strict parent out of fear, but feels truly guided by the parent who radiates calm authority. The mirror effect always exposes the truth beneath the surface. So how do we use this knowledge? The first step is awareness. Begin noticing how people respond to you. If you consistently receive defensiveness, irritation, or disconnection, it may not be only about them. It may be a reflection of the energy you are carrying. Ask yourself, what am I broadcasting right now? Your body language, your tone, your presence, all of these send signals, and others cannot help but reflect them. Awareness allows you to choose differently. The second step is regulation. Learn to regulate your state before entering important interactions. Breathe deeply, ground yourself, remember your intention. If you want to bring calm to a situation, embody it first. If you want to inspire, ignite your own energy first. If you want to be respected, stand in your values before speaking. Do not wait for others to change the atmosphere. Be the one who sets it. Mastering the mirror effect means realizing that you are the thermostat, not the thermometer. You do not just measure the room, you set the tone for it. And finally, the third step is consistency. One calm conversation will not change a relationship. But consistent energy repeated over time reshapes the mirror. People begin to trust what you embody. They stop waiting for the old version of you to appear. They mirror what is steady, not what is temporary. Consistency creates credibility, and credibility creates influence. The mirror effect explains why people often attract the same patterns in relationships. If you carry insecurity, you attract those who exploit it. If you carry desperation, you attract those who take advantage. But if you carry strength, you attract those who respect it. Life is not only about what you want, it is about what you radiate. And what you radiate is always reflected back to you. Consider this: every relationship in your life is a mirror. They show you what you bring. If you feel unseen, ask yourself, am I truly showing myself? If you feel unheard, ask, am I truly listening? If you feel disrespected, ask, am I respecting myself first? These are not easy questions, but they reveal the hidden dynamics of your interactions. The mirror effect teaches us that people are not only responding to us, they are reflecting us. Now imagine the possibilities if you fully embraced this truth. You could walk into conflict and disarm it with calm. You could enter a tense negotiation and shift it with presence. You could inspire a team not by demanding energy, but by embodying it. You could transform relationships not by arguing for change, but by living the change. This is not theory. It is the quiet power of the mirror effect in action. So I ask you, what do you want the world to reflect back to you? If it is respect, then live with respect. If it is love, then radiate love. If it is strength, then embody strength. The mirror will never lie. It always shows you what you bring. The question is whether you will bring your fear or your highest self. If you have stayed with me this far, then I know you are ready to begin embodying the energy you wish to see. You are not here to drift through interactions unaware. You are here to live consciously, to master your presence, to shape the mirrors around you with wisdom and intention. Begin today. Notice what energy you carry into the next room, the next conversation, the next challenge. Watch how people respond, and remember, what you see in them is often what they see in you. If this message has spoken to you, pause and reflect on one relationship in your life right now. Ask yourself, what energy am I bringing to it, And how is it being mirrored back to me? Share your reflection in the comments below. It may be the first step to reshaping not only your relationships, but your entire world. And if you found value here, share this with someone you care about. Because when you shift your energy, you do not only change yourself, you change every mirror you touch. Chapter 5. Presence is power, the secret language of being fully here. There is a rare quality that instantly sets a person apart. It is not beauty, wealth, or even intelligence. It is presence. Presence is the ability to be fully here, to give your whole attention to this moment, to this person, to this conversation. In a world where people are constantly distracted, endlessly scrolling, endlessly checking their phones, endlessly thinking of what comes next, presence is like water in a desert. It is rare, it is precious, and it is unforgettable. Think about the last time you felt truly listened to. Not half listened while someone nodded, but truly listened to where the other person's eyes met yours, without wandering, where you felt their full attention, where it seemed that for those few minutes nothing else in the world existed but you. How did it feel? For most, it feels like oxygen after being starved. You feel seen, valued, validated. That is the power of presence. Presence is not just an action, it is a gift. And yet presence is also one of the scarcest qualities in modern life. Most conversations today are two people waiting for their turn to speak. Most interactions are rushed, shallow, mechanical. Most relationships are weakened not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of presence. People no longer show up fully, they show up partially. They are half here, half elsewhere, and others feel it. The body is present, but the spirit is absent. The face is here, but the mind is far away. And so, connections weaken, trust diminishes, and opportunities slip through unnoticed. Why do people struggle so much with presence? Because the human mind is restless. Psychology tells us that the average person's mind wanders almost half of their waking hours. They are replaying the past, worrying about the future, or imagining alternate realities. Rarely are they anchored in the now. Add technology, constant notifications, and the endless pressure of modern life and presence becomes even harder to access. It is easier to be elsewhere than to be here. But easier does not mean better. The cost of absent living is enormous, shallow relationships, lost opportunities, and an endless sense of emptiness. Presence, however, is not about perfection. It is about intention. You do not have to be flawless in your focus. You simply have to choose to return. When your mind drifts, bring it back. When you feel distracted, ground yourself again. Presence is not a static state, it is a practice. Every moment offers you the chance to return. Every breath is an invitation to come back to now. This is why mindfulness has gained so much attention in psychology. It trains the muscle of presence. But presence is not only for meditation, it is for life. The deeper truth is this: presence is power. A person who is fully present commands attention without trying. They create impact without effort. Why? Because presence communicates respect, authority, and authenticity. When you are present, you signal to others, you matter. This moment matters. I am not elsewhere. I am here with you. People feel this deeply. It breaks through their defenses. It creates trust instantly. Presence is influence in its purest form. Consider the difference between a leader who glances at their phone while someone speaks and a leader who gives their undivided attention. Both may say the same words, but only one inspires loyalty. Consider the difference between a partner who half listens while thinking of their to-do list and a partner who leans in, listens fully, and remembers what you said. Both may love you, but only one makes you feel loved. Presence is not a small detail, it is the foundation of connection. But here lies the paradox: presence is also terrifying. To be fully present means to put down your masks, your distractions, your defenses. It means to face life as it is without escape. And many people run from this. They would rather hide in their phones, in their worries, in their busyness, than face the intensity of real presence. Why? Because presence demands vulnerability. When you are fully here, you cannot hide. You are exposed. And yet, it is only in that exposure that true connection is born. This is why presence requires courage. It requires you to silence the noise in your mind, to resist the temptation of distraction, to hold eye contact a little longer, to listen a little deeper, to stay in the discomfort of silence without rushing to fill it. Most people cannot do this, but those who can become unforgettable. Their presence lingers in memory long after the conversation ends. People may forget what you said, but they will never forget how it felt to be with you. Here is the mindset shift. Presence is not something you do. It is something you give. It is a gift that costs nothing, but means everything. When you give someone your presence, you are telling them you are enough to deserve my full attention. And in a world starved for validation, that is one of the most powerful messages you can send. So how do you cultivate presence? Begin by practicing awareness of your own distractions. Notice when your mind drifts. Notice when your eyes wander. Notice when you are pretending to listen but are elsewhere. Do not judge yourself, simply return. Presence begins with honesty, the willingness to admit when you are not fully here, and the choice to come back anyway. Next, anchor yourself physically. Presence lives in the body. When you feel distracted, bring awareness to your breath. Feel your feet on the ground, the weight of your body, the sound of your voice. This pulls you out of the endless spinning of thoughts and back into the immediacy of now. Presence is not thinking about presence, it is experiencing it. And finally, cultivate curiosity. Presence is natural when you are genuinely curious. When you truly care about the person in front of you, you do not have to force attention. It flows. Ask questions not to reply, but to understand. Look not only at their words, but at their expressions, their silences, their energy. Presence deepens when you see beyond the surface. Now imagine the transformation if you lived with presence consistently. Your relationships would deepen. Your influence would multiply. Your work would become more focused, your creativity sharper, your joy fuller. Life would no longer blur past in a fog of half-attention. It would open in vivid detail. Because presence is not just about others, it is about you. When you are fully present, you actually live your life instead of missing it. So I ask you, when was the last time you gave someone your full presence? When was the last time you gave it to yourself? Take a moment today to put everything else aside and be fully here, even if just for 5 minutes. Listen without distraction. Look without haste. Feel without numbing. Give this gift and watch how the mirrors around you change. If this has resonated with you, pause now and share your reflection. Presence grows when it is practiced, and practice begins with awareness. If you found value here, share this message with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because in the next chapter, we will explore another dimension of social intelligence, the hidden language of non-verbal communication, how your body speaks louder than your words, and how mastering it can change every interaction you have. Chapter 6. The Silent Language, How Your Body Speaks Before You Do. Long before human beings developed words, we spoke with our bodies. A raised eyebrow, a tilted head, a clenched fist, a softened gaze. These were the first languages of connection. And even now, in an age overflowing with words, it is still the silent language of body and tone that communicates the most truth. Social intelligence is not only about what you say, it is about what you broadcast without saying a single word. Think of the last time you met someone new. Within seconds before they even spoke, you felt something about them. Maybe you sensed warmth and openness, or maybe you felt tension and distance. This instant impression did not come from words. It came from nonverbal signals. Psychology shows that as much as 70 to 90% of communication is nonverbal. This means that people are not only listening to your words, they are reading your posture, your gestures, your eyes, your energy. And often what your body says is louder than what your mouth says. This explains why people can say, "I am fine," while their body screams, "I am not fine." Or why someone can say, "I am confident," while their slouched shoulders whisper, "I am afraid." Words can be manipulated, but body language is harder to fake. People may not consciously analyze it, but they feel it. The body always tells the truth of your inner state, and others always pick up on it. The problem is that most people are unaware of the signals they are sending. They do not realize that their crossed arms are creating distance, that their lack of eye contact is signaling insecurity, that their restless movements are broadcasting nervousness. And then they wonder why conversations feel awkward, why people do not trust them, why opportunities slip away. The silent language is always speaking whether you control it or not. Here is the shift. The most socially intelligent people are those who become fluent in this language. They know how to read the subtle cues in others, and they know how to master their own. They do not manipulate, they align. They ensure their body language reflects the truth they wish to convey. This creates coherence, and coherence creates trust. When your words and body match, people feel safe with you. When they do not, people feel something is off, even if they cannot explain why. Think of a leader standing before a crowd. If their words say, "We will overcome this challenge," but their body is stiff, their eyes darting, their tone uncertain, no one will believe them. But if their body radiates calm, their eyes steady, their tone strong, even simple words carry weight. It is not the words themselves, it is the alignment of body, voice, and intention that inspires. This is why true influence is embodied, not recited. So how can you master this silent language? The first step is awareness. Begin noticing your own body in conversation. How do you stand? How do you sit? What do your hands do? Are you open or closed, grounded or restless? Next, notice others. Watch the way they lean in when interested, how they withdraw when uncomfortable, how their eyes light up when something matters. People reveal themselves constantly if you pay attention. Social intelligence grows when you learn to see what others miss. The second step is congruence. Align your body with your words. If you want to show openness, uncross your arms. Soften your shoulders, make steady eye contact. If you want to show confidence, stand tall, slow your movements, use deliberate gestures. If you want to show empathy, lean in slightly, mirror the other person subtly, let your eyes communicate warmth. Congruence makes people trust you because they feel no hidden agenda. Your body and words are one. The third step is control of energy. Nonverbal communication is not only physical, it is energetic. People feel the energy you bring before you speak. If you enter a room with heaviness, others will feel it. If you bring lightness, others will rise to meet it. This is why mastering your internal state is crucial. Confidence begins not in posture, but in the mind. Calmness begins not in your eyes, but in your breath. Energy radiates from within and then expresses itself through the body. Master the inner and the outer will follow. There is also the power of silence. Silence is one of the most underestimated forms of non-verbal communication. A pause can show confidence while rushing shows insecurity. Stillness can command more authority than noise. A thoughtful silence can carry more weight than a flood of words. Socially intelligent people use silence as a tool. They know when to hold space, when to let silence invite others to speak, when to let it deepen the moment instead of breaking it. The mirror effect we spoke of earlier comes alive here. When you embody openness, people open. When you embody calm, people calm. When you embody confidence, people lean into your lead. You do not have to say, "Trust me." Your body will say it for you, and people will feel it without knowing why. But let us be clear, body language is not about manipulation. It is not about striking fake power poses or forcing unnatural gestures. True mastery comes from authenticity. If you try to fake confidence, people will sense the disconnect. But if you build real confidence within your body, will naturally reflect it. The goal is not to perform. The goal is to align. Alignment between your inner state and outer expression is the essence of social intelligence. Now imagine the shift if you mastered this. In job interviews, you would radiate confidence without arrogance. In relationships, you would convey love without words. In leadership, you would inspire without shouting. In daily life, people would feel drawn to you without knowing why. This is the invisible advantage of mastering nonverbal communication. It amplifies every word you say and every connection you make. So I ask you now, what is your body saying even when your mouth is silent? What energy are you broadcasting into every room you enter? Begin to notice. Begin to align. Begin to master the silent language, because those who speak it fluently hold a power that words alone can never achieve. If you found this chapter valuable, pause and reflect on one area of your life where your body may be telling a different story than your words. Share your insight in the comments below. And remember, when you change the way you show up, you change the way others show up for you. Share this message if you know someone who needs to be reminded of the power of presence beyond words. Chapter 7. Emotional Mirroring, the Hidden Bridge Between Hearts. There is a mysterious force at play every time two people interact. You cannot see it, but you can feel it. It is the subtle exchange of emotions, the invisible current that flows between human beings. Scientists call it emotional contagion, but in social intelligence it is known as mirroring. To mirror is to reflect the inner world of another so that they feel understood, validated, and safe. It is not mimicry. It is empathy expressed through tone, posture, and energy. It is the art of saying without words, I see you. I understand you. You are not alone. Think about the times you felt closest to someone. Was it when they solved your problems with advice? Or was it when they simply sat with you, reflected your emotions, and let you feel that they were right there with you? For most, the deepest bonds are formed not by solutions, but by resonance. When someone mirrors your sadness with a softened voice, when they mirror your joy with shared laughter, when they mirror your excitement with widened eyes and leaning in, that is when you feel the bond. Mirroring is not about pretending. It is about tuning in so deeply that your body and emotions naturally align with the other. Psychology reveals that humans are wired for this. Deep in our brains are mirror neurons designed to pick up on the emotions and actions of others and reflect them. This is why yawns spread, why laughter is contagious, why tears in a movie can bring tears to your own eyes. We are built to connect through resonance. And in social interaction, this is one of the most powerful tools you can wield. But here is the challenge: most people are not aware of how strongly they mirror others unconsciously. If you are around negative, pessimistic people, your energy lowers. If you are around excited, enthusiastic people, your energy rises. Environments shape emotions through mirroring. This is why entire workplaces feel toxic, when leadership is tense, and why groups feel light. When one joyful person enters the room, energy spreads faster than words. And if you are not intentional, you will absorb more than you influence. Social intelligence, then, is not just about being influenced. It is about consciously influencing. It is about being aware of the energy in the room and choosing what to amplify. If someone is anxious, you do not mirror their anxiety and spiral with them. You ground yourself and offer calmness that they can mirror back. If someone is discouraged, you do not dismiss their feelings or ignore them. You acknowledge their emotion with empathy, then gradually lift the energy toward hope. Mirroring is not only about reflection, it is about direction. Imagine this in everyday life. A friend comes to you in pain. If you smile too brightly and brush it off, they will feel unseen. If you collapse into their despair and amplify it, you will sink together. But if you acknowledge their sadness, your face softening, your tone slowing, and then gently introduce reassurance, you create a bridge. They feel understood, yet they also feel lifted. This is the mastery of emotional mirroring: first reflect, then guide. But here lies the trap: inauthentic mirroring destroys trust. People can sense when you are faking empathy, when your words say, "I care," but your tone is flat, when your face shows no resonance with their story. This false mirroring feels manipulative, and instead of building connection, it creates distance. True mirroring is not performance, it is presence. You must genuinely tune in, you must genuinely care. Without authenticity, mirroring becomes mimicry, and mimicry breeds mistrust. This is why the foundation of mirroring is not technique, but intention. Ask yourself, do I really care to understand this person? Do I really want to step into their world for a moment? If the answer is yes, mirroring will flow naturally. If the answer is no, no technique will save you. Because people feel the truth in your energy before they analyze your words. Let us look at why people often fail at mirroring. Some are too self-absorbed. They listen only to reply, not to understand. Some are too impatient, rushing to give advice instead of reflecting emotion. Some are too uncomfortable with vulnerability, so they avoid deep resonance and stay at the surface. And some are simply unaware that mirroring exists. They do not realize that human beings need more than words, they need reflection. And so relationships remain shallow, misunderstandings multiply, and trust never deepens. The shift is simple but profound. Stop trying to be interesting and start trying to be interested. When you lean into someone's world, when you match the pace of their tone, when you mirror their gestures lightly, when your face reflects their joy or their concern, you signal you matter. And that is the essence of social intelligence, making others feel significant not through flattery, but through resonance. Consider leaders who inspire loyalty. They are not those who dominate every conversation with their brilliance. They are those who mirror the emotions of their people, who step into their fears, their hopes, their frustrations, and then speak into them. They create the sense that this person understands me, and once that is established, influence follows naturally. Consider relationships. The partners who grow distant are often those who stop mirroring each other. One shares joy, the other responds flatly. One shares pain, the other shrugs. The energy breaks, the bond weakens. But when partners continue to mirror, laughing together, grieving together, dreaming together, the relationship deepens with time. It is not grand gestures that sustain love, but daily resonance. Consider influence in persuasion. A skilled communicator does not bulldoze with logic alone. They mirror the emotional state of the listener, step into their perspective, and then lead them gently toward a new way of seeing. This is why mirroring is a tool not only for connection, but for leadership, persuasion, and transformation. But be warned, mirroring is powerful because it is subtle. Used with authenticity, it creates trust. Used manipulatively, it creates suspicion. The line is intention. Always ask yourself, am I mirroring to connect, or am I mirroring to control? If your heart is aligned with empathy, the answer will be clear. Now pause and reflect. Who in your life mirrors you naturally? Who makes you feel truly understood? And who do you mirror without realizing it? The people who share your energy, your tone, your laughter, are the ones you feel most connected to. This is no accident. It is the biology of bonding. You can become that person for others, but it begins with awareness. So the challenge is this today. Choose one conversation where you will practice mirroring. Listen not only with your ears, but with your body. Reflect their energy, their tone, their emotions. Not to perform, but to connect. Notice what shifts. Notice how they open. Notice how the bridge between you grows stronger. Because once you master this, you will no longer struggle to connect. You will resonate deeply wherever you go. If this has resonated with you, take a moment to share your insight in the comments. Who in your life makes you feel mirrored, and how can you become that mirror for others? If this chapter has opened your eyes to the subtle power of emotional resonance, share it with someone you care about. And subscribe, because in the next chapter we will explore another key to social intelligence: the art of asking powerful questions, the kind that unlock hearts, shift perspectives, and change relationships forever. Chapter 8. The art of asking questions that unlock connection. Every relationship, every conversation, every breakthrough in human connection begins not with a statement, but with a question. Questions are the keys that unlock the hidden chambers of another person's mind and heart. They reveal what lies beneath the surface, they show that you care enough to listen, and they create a pathway into deeper truth. While many people waste conversations by talking endlessly about themselves, the socially intelligent person understands that the most powerful words they can speak are not declarations, but inquiries. Think of the last time someone asked you a question that made you pause. Maybe it was as simple as, "How are you really doing?" or as profound as, "What matters most to you right now?" Notice what happened in that moment. Your defenses lowered, your mind turned inward, and you felt seen. A good question does not only extract information, it creates presence. It says, "I value your inner world enough to explore it with you." That is the gift of asking questions. Yet many people get stuck in shallow questions. They ask, "How is work? How is the weather? How are you?" without genuine intention, and so they receive shallow answers. Good, fine, busy. These empty exchanges create no connection. They are polite noise, not meaningful conversation. The problem is not the words themselves, but the lack of depth, the lack of follow-up, the lack of curiosity. Social intelligence demands more than politeness. It demands genuine inquiry. Why do people fail at this? Some are afraid of going deeper, fearing it may feel intrusive. Some are so focused on what they will say next that they forget to ask at all. Some mistake confidence for dominance and believe that talking more makes them impressive, when in truth talking less and asking more makes you magnetic. The reason is simple: people love to talk about themselves, but only if they feel genuinely heard. A socially intelligent question gives them that space. There is a psychology behind this. When you ask someone a meaningful question, their brain releases dopamine as they share their story. They feel rewarded simply by being listened to. This is why conversations with great listeners feel addictive. You leave feeling lighter, energized, understood. The power is not in the listener's words, but in their questions and their presence. But here lies the deeper mastery: not all questions are equal. Closed questions shut doors. Open questions open them. Do you like your job is closed? It invites a yes or no. What do you enjoy most about your work is open. It invites a story. Are you happy may trigger defensiveness. What has brought you the most joy lately allows reflection without pressure. The socially intelligent person does not interrogate, they invite. Their questions do not corner, they expand. This skill becomes especially powerful in conflict. When two people are locked in disagreement, questions soften the walls. Instead of saying, "You are wrong," try, "Help me understand how you see this." Instead of saying, "You never listen," try, "What do you feel I am missing in hearing you?" These questions shift the energy from confrontation to exploration. They allow emotions to be expressed without escalation. They transform a fight into a dialogue. And there is another layer still: the timing of questions. Too many questions too quickly can overwhelm. Too few questions leave a conversation lifeless. The art lies in rhythm, listening, reflecting, then asking with patience. This creates flow, where the other feels both heard and guided. Silence also plays a role here. A thoughtful pause after a question gives space for depth. Sometimes the silence itself pulls the truth to the surface. In leadership, this skill separates great leaders from mediocre ones. Leaders who only give instructions create obedience. Leaders who ask questions create ownership. What do you think we should do? What challenges are you facing? How can I support you? These questions empower others to step forward with their own insight. And when people feel their perspective matters, their commitment deepens. Influence through questions is stronger than influence through commands. In friendships and love, the same principle applies. Imagine a partner who never asks questions. Over time, you would feel unseen, as if your inner world does not matter. Now imagine a partner who regularly asks, "What has been on your mind lately? What dream excites you most? What is one thing I could do to love you better?" Such questions keep the bond alive because they invite continuous discovery. Love dies in assumptions. Love lives in curiosity. But perhaps the greatest use of questions is self-discovery. The questions you ask yourself shape your life more than the answers you receive from others. What do I really want? What am I afraid of? What kind of person do I want to become? These are not casual questions. They are life-defining ones. Most people live without asking them, and so they drift. But the courageous few who dare to ask and then sit with the discomfort of honest answers reshape their destinies. So how do you begin to master this? Start with intention. Do not ask to fill silence. Ask to deepen presence. Then practice. In your next conversation, instead of another shallow, "How is work?" try what part of your work has been the most fulfilling this week. Notice how the energy shifts. Instead of "How are you?" try what has been the most meaningful part of your day so far. Questions like these break patterns. They remind people of their inner richness. They make you unforgettable because you gave them the gift of reflection. And remember, the goal is not endless questioning. The goal is balance, asking, listening, sharing. Too many questions without vulnerability can feel like an interview. Too little questioning feels like self-absorption. True social intelligence is a dance, you ask. They share, you reflect, you add, you ask again. The rhythm creates connection. Now pause. Imagine if you shifted all your relationships through better questions. Imagine your conversations at work, at home, with friends, becoming deeper, more alive, more fulfilling. Imagine becoming the person others feel safe to open up to, the person who always seems to get it, the person who makes them feel seen. This is not fantasy. It is a skill you can build one question at a time. So I ask you now, what is the one question you wish someone would ask you but rarely do? Sit with it. Feel the longing behind it, and then become that person for others. Ask them the questions they wish someone would ask. Give them the gift you crave. In giving, you will also receive. If this chapter has sparked something within you, share it below. Tell me, what is the question that has most changed your life? Your answer may inspire someone else who desperately needs it. And if you found this powerful, share this chapter, because the world does not need more noise. It needs deeper questions that awaken truth. Chapter 9. The power of listening, hearing beyond the words. There is a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is a biological act. Listening is a spiritual one. Hearing captures sound. Listening captures meaning. Hearing lets words enter your ears. Listening lets them enter your soul. This is why two people can be in the same room, hear the same words, but only one walks away truly changed. Social intelligence is not about speaking more or being more charming. At its core, it is about listening with a depth so rare that others feel transformed simply by being in your presence. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you, not nodded politely, not waited for their turn to speak, but genuinely gave you their full attention as if nothing else in the world mattered more than your words. How did it feel? Most people remember such moments with clarity because they are so rare. True listening makes people feel seen, heard, validated. It makes them feel like they exist. And in a world where everyone is shouting to be noticed, being deeply listened to is one of the greatest gifts you can give. The tragedy is that most people do not listen. They pretend. They nod while their mind drifts. They think about their next response instead of absorbing what is being said. They cut off sentences because they already assume they know the point. They listen for information but not for emotion. This is why so many conversations feel empty. It is not the words that are lacking, it is the presence. People crave presence more than answers. Psychology explains that humans are wired to seek validation. When someone listens without judgment, our nervous system relaxes. We feel safe, open, willing to share more. This creates a loop. The more one person listens, the more the other person reveals. The more they reveal, the deeper the connection grows. This is why listening is not passive. It is active creation. It builds bridges. It transforms strangers into friends, enemies into allies, lovers into lifelong partners. But why is listening so hard? One reason is ego. The ego loves to speak, to prove, to perform. Listening requires humility, the willingness to let another voice matter more than your own for a moment. Another reason is distraction. Modern life pulls attention in every direction, phones buzzing, thoughts racing, deadlines looming. True listening requires the discipline to quiet the noise inside and outside. It demands presence, which feels foreign to many who live in constant rush. The final reason is fear. Sometimes we avoid listening deeply because we are afraid of what we might hear, truths that challenge our assumptions or reveal pain we do not want to confront. Socially intelligent people confront this fear. They embrace the discipline of listening because they understand it is not about them. It is about creating space for others to unfold. They listen not only to words, but to pauses, to tone, to what is said and unsaid. They hear the hesitation in a voice, the heaviness in a sigh, the longing behind a story. This is listening beyond sound. This is listening to the human being. Consider this. In every conversation, there are two dialogues happening. One is the external dialogue, the words spoken. The other is the internal dialogue, the unspoken emotions, fears, and hopes beneath the words. Ordinary people only catch the surface. Socially intelligent people tune into the second. When someone says, "I am just busy," perhaps beneath it, they mean, "I feel overwhelmed and unseen." When someone says, "I am fine," perhaps beneath it they are silently crying, "I need someone to notice I am not fine." The socially intelligent listener does not push, but they hear the undercurrent. And by simply acknowledging it, it sounds like things have been heavy for you. They give healing where no advice could. In leadership, listening is the difference between authority and influence. Authority commands people to obey. Influence inspires people to follow. Leaders who listen create loyalty because their teams feel valued. A simple, "Tell me what challenges you are facing," can do more than 100 motivational speeches. People want to be heard before they want to be led. Listening earns the right to lead. In love, listening is the difference between distance and closeness. Many couples fight not because of what is said, but because of what is not heard. One partner speaks their truth, but the other defends instead of listening. Over time, walls rise. Resentment grows. But when a partner listens with openness, even painful truths become bridges. Listening says, "I may not agree, but I am here with you in this moment." That presence often matters more than agreement. There is also a paradox to listening. When you listen deeply, you gain influence without trying. People trust those who make them feel heard. They seek them out for advice, for companionship, for leadership, not because that person talks the most, but because they listen the best. Influence through listening is invisible but unstoppable. So how can you master this art? Begin with silence. When someone speaks, resist the urge to interrupt. Let their words breathe. Let them finish completely before you respond. Notice their tone, their expressions, their body language. Listen with your eyes as well as your ears. Next, reflect back. Say, "It sounds like you are feeling," or "What I hear you saying is." This does not mean parroting their words. It means showing that you understand their meaning. Finally, be willing to sit with pauses. Sometimes the most profound truths emerge in the silence after someone has spoken if you give them space. The most powerful phrase you can carry into any conversation is not, "Here is what I think." It is, "Tell me more." Those three words open doors. They tell the other person, you are not rushing, you are not judging, you are not distracted. You are here. And when people feel that, they give you their truth. Now imagine this applied in your own life. Imagine your children growing up with the memory that their parent always listened, truly listened. Imagine your partner feeling secure because their heart was always received without interruption. Imagine your friends drawn to you because you were the rare person who listened without agenda. Imagine your career flourishing because people trusted you not for what you said, but for how deeply you listened. That is the silent power of this skill. So I leave you with this challenge in your next conversation: speak less. Resist the urge to perform. Instead, become curious. Ask one thoughtful question, then listen, as if the world depended on the answer. Watch what happens. Watch the way people open, the way their energy softens, the way the bond between you deepens. Listening is not flashy, but it is transformative. If this chapter resonated with you, take a moment now and reflect. Who in your life most needs your full listening presence today? Call them. Sit with them. Listen without judgment, without rushing. Then come back and share your experience in the comments. And if you believe the world would be a better place if people listen more deeply, share this message. Because listening at its core is love in action. Chapter 10. The subtle power of body language in human connection. Long before words existed, there was movement. Before language was born, there was posture, gesture, eye contact, and silence. Humanity spoke with the body long before it ever spoke with the tongue. And even now, in every conversation, body language carries more weight than the words we say. A raised eyebrow, a slight lean forward, crossed arms, shifting eyes, these signals shape meaning in ways most people never consciously notice. Social intelligence requires not only awareness of what you say, but also mastery of what you show. Imagine this: someone tells you, "I am happy to see you," but their arms remain crossed. Their eyes dart away. Their tone is flat. Do you believe their words? Of course not. You believe the body, because the body does not lie. Words can be polished and rehearsed, but the body often reveals the truth beneath them. This is why those who understand body language can sense what others miss: hidden emotions, unspoken doubts, silent desires. And this is why those who master their own body language become magnetic. They radiate confidence, warmth, and authenticity without needing to prove it. Psychologists explain that more than half of communication is nonverbal. It is not just what you say, but how you stand, how you move, how you breathe. People pick up on your presence before they ever hear your words. If your words and your body do not align, people trust the body. If you say, "I am confident," but your shoulders hunch and your voice trembles, no one believes it. If you say, "I care," but you glance at your phone while they speak, they feel dismissed. Alignment is everything. Social intelligence is about congruence, matching your inner state, your words, and your body into a single authentic message. But why do so many people struggle here? Some are simply unaware. They live in their head, forgetting that their body is constantly broadcasting signals. Others are trapped in insecurity. Their body folds in on itself, shrinking, apologizing for its existence. Some overcompensate, exaggerating gestures, or adopting artificial postures of power which come across as insincere. The socially intelligent person takes a different path. They do not fake, they align. They learn to notice their body, to breathe into it, to carry themselves with grounded presence. They embody confidence instead of performing it. One of the most powerful signals is eye contact. Eye contact says, "I see you, I am here with you." Too little and it feels evasive. Too much and it feels aggressive. The balance is present, steady, warm without forcing. When you hold someone's gaze while truly listening, you create trust. The eyes, after all, are not only windows to the soul, They are bridges between souls. Posture is another silent force. When you stand tall, chest open, shoulders relaxed, you project strength and calm. When you slump, fold your arms, or make yourself small, you project insecurity or defensiveness. Notice how posture changes the energy in a room. A leader who walks in upright, grounded with slow, deliberate movement, commands attention without a word. A person who walks in with hunched shoulders and shuffling steps fades into the background before they even speak. Presence begins with posture. Gestures also carry power. A nod invites someone to continue speaking. An open palm signals honesty. A subtle lean forward conveys interest, but tapping fingers, crossing arms, or glancing around sends messages of impatience or discomfort. Social intelligence is not about exaggerating gestures to impress. It is about aligning your gestures with your intention. If you want to connect, your body should be open. If you want to reassure, your body should be calm. The body always communicates. The question is whether it communicates consciously or unconsciously. And then there is the micro-expression, the fleeting smile, the twitch of an eyebrow, the tightening of lips. These small expressions reveal hidden emotions in less than a second. A socially intelligent person may not analyze every detail, but they sense it. They feel the tension, the hesitation, the spark. They notice when someone says, "I am fine," but their jaw clenches. They hear the words, but they listen to the face. And by responding with empathy, it seems like there is something more on your mind. They break through the mask. But the most important body language is presence itself. Presence is not in the hands or the eyes alone. It is in the whole body, relaxed, yet alert, grounded, yet open. Presence communicates safety. It says you do not need to pretend. I am here with you. And when people feel that they open up, words become secondary. Here is the paradox to master body language. You must stop trying to perform body language. Forced gestures look fake. Overthinking your movements makes you stiff. True mastery comes from inner alignment. When you feel confident, your posture naturally expands. When you feel compassion, your eyes naturally soften. When you feel curious, your body naturally leans in. The key is not to memorize tricks, but to cultivate states of being. Body language is the shadow of the soul. It follows what you feel inside. So ask yourself, what message does my body send when I walk into a room? Do I shrink or expand? Do I avoid or engage? Do I close off or open? Awareness is the first step. Once you notice, you can shift. Straighten your back, breathe deeply, let your shoulders drop. Look people in the eye, let your gestures flow naturally. These small adjustments create powerful changes in how others perceive you and in how you perceive yourself. Now imagine applying this every day. Imagine entering a meeting where your very presence communicates calm authority before you speak. Imagine sitting with a loved one and your attentive posture makes them feel cherished without a word. Imagine meeting a stranger and your openness invites them to trust you instantly. This is not fiction. This is the daily reality of those who master body language. They influence without forcing. They attract without chasing. They connect without effort. So here is my challenge to you. The next time you speak to someone, notice your body. Notice your eyes, your shoulders, your hands, your breath. Then adjust, not with performance, but with alignment. Ask yourself, am I fully here? If the answer is yes, your body will communicate it. And the other person will feel it, even if they cannot explain why. If this message resonates with you, reflect right now, what is one unconscious habit in your body language that you want to shift? Share it below. By naming it, you take the first step toward transformation. And if you know someone who struggles with confidence or connection, share this chapter with them. Sometimes the greatest transformation does not come from words we learn to say, but from the silent language we already speak. Chapter 11. The emotional mirror, empathy as a superpower. There is a reason people gravitate toward those who make them feel understood. It is not wealth, status, or brilliance that creates bonds, but empathy. Empathy is the emotional mirror of human connection. It is the ability to step into another person's inner world, not just to imagine their perspective, but to feel with them. When you master empathy, you do not just understand people, you make them feel understood. And that perhaps more than anything else is what every human heart longs for. Think of the last time you were in pain, real pain, the kind that leaves you restless at night. Maybe it was grief, maybe rejection, maybe an invisible battle you could not explain. And then someone simply said, "I get it. I have been there. You are not alone." Did their words erase the problem? No. But did their presence lighten the weight? Absolutely. Because empathy does not fix, it joins. It does not remove the storm, but it becomes the umbrella you share inside it. Most people confuse empathy with sympathy. Sympathy looks down from a distance and says, "I feel bad for you." Empathy kneels beside you and whispers, "I feel this with you." Sympathy is pity. Empathy is connection. Sympathy creates separation. Empathy dissolves it. Socially intelligent people know that the deepest influence is not in offering solutions, but in offering presence. When you mirror someone's emotion with compassion, you give them the courage to keep walking. But why do so many struggle with empathy? One reason is fear of vulnerability. To truly feel with another, you must open yourself. You must allow their pain to touch you, their joy to move you, their fears to resonate with yours. Many avoid empathy because it feels unsafe to carry someone else's emotions. Another reason is impatience. Modern culture celebrates speed, productivity, efficiency. Empathy requires slowing down, giving space, sitting with silence. And some resist empathy because it demands humility. It demands that you put aside your own ego long enough to enter another person's experience. Yet when you choose empathy, you unlock influence. Think of the leaders who changed the world. They did not only issue commands, they felt with the people they led. Think of the teachers who shaped your life. It was not their lessons alone, but the way they cared enough to see you. Think of the friends you trust most. They are the ones who listen, who feel, who hold space when life is heavy. Empathy is not weakness. It is leadership in its purest form. There is also science behind this. Psychologists talk about mirror neuron cells in the brain that activate when we observe someone else's emotions or actions. When someone smiles, our brain lights up as if we are smiling too. When someone cries, our brain echoes their pain. We are wired for empathy. Social intelligence is simply the conscious cultivation of this natural wiring. It is the decision to pay attention, to notice, to feel, instead of numbing or ignoring. So how do you practice empathy in a world that often resists it? Begin by listening not just to words, but to feelings. When someone speaks, ask yourself, what are they really feeling beneath these words? Is it fear, hope, anger, longing? Then acknowledge it. Say, "It sounds like this has been really overwhelming," or "I can imagine that must have felt exciting." These small reflections create powerful bridges. They show the other person, you see me, you hear me, you feel me. Next, practice presence. Put the phone down. Stop rehearsing your reply. Look into their eyes. Let them know by your stillness that they matter. Empathy is often less about what you say and more about how you show up. A hand on the shoulder, a steady gaze, a moment of silence together, these can speak louder than 1,000 words. Finally, expand your circle of empathy. It is easy to feel with those who are like you, who share your culture, your views, your struggles. True mastery comes when you extend empathy to those who are different, even those who oppose you. It is saying, "I may not agree with you, but I want to understand you." This does not mean condoning harm. It means recognizing that every human being carries a story, a wound, a dream. And when you see that, you disarm conflict before it begins. Empathy is also a mirror to yourself. The more you practice it with others, the more you learn to practice it with yourself. Many people are harsh critics of their own mistakes, merciless with their own failures. But social intelligence requires inner empathy. The ability to say, I am human, I struggle, I fall and I rise. When you extend compassion inward, you stop projecting your pain outward. You become safer for others because you are safe within yourself. Imagine what would change in your life if you lived empathy every day. Your relationships would deepen because people would feel truly seen. Your influence would expand because people would trust you. Your conflicts would dissolve more quickly because you would disarm defensiveness with compassion. Even strangers would gravitate toward you because they would feel the rare energy of someone who actually cares. So here is your challenge in your next conversation. Resist the urge to solve. Resist the urge to correct. Instead, enter their world. Ask, what is that like for you? Ask, how did that make you feel? And then just be there. You may be surprised how much healing occurs simply because you dared to feel with someone else. If this message has touched you, take a moment right now and reflect. Who in your life needs empathy more than advice today? Call them, sit with them, listen without rushing. And when you finish, share your experience. Because the world does not need more voices shouting solutions. It needs more hearts willing to feel. Chapter 12. Reading the Hidden Patterns. Understanding Human Behavior. Every day, people reveal more about themselves than they realize. A sigh at the end of a sentence, a quick glance toward the door, the way someone reacts when interrupted. These are not random quirks. They are patterns, clues into the psychology of human behavior. Social intelligence is the ability to see these patterns, to read the currents beneath the surface, and to respond with wisdom instead of assumption. To master human interaction, you must learn to see not just what people say, but why they say it, and what lies underneath their silence. Consider the colleague who always interrupts. On the surface, it looks like arrogance or impatience, but look deeper, perhaps it is insecurity, a desperate need to be heard before their voice is dismissed. Or the friend who suddenly cancels plans again and again. You might feel rejected, but if you step back, you may see signs of quiet exhaustion or a struggle they do not yet have words for. Human behavior is rarely random. It is the outer expression of inner stories. When you learn to decode these stories, you stop reacting blindly and begin responding with intelligence. Psychologists tell us that behavior is a blend of three forces: biology, environment, and belief. Biology shapes our natural temperament. Some are born bold, others cautious. Environment teaches us what is safe and what is dangerous. Childhood experiences shape the reflexes we carry into adulthood. And belief colors our perception. What we think the world is, we behave as if it truly is. This is why two people in the same situation may act in completely opposite ways. One lashes out in anger, the other withdraws in silence. The difference lies in the stories they carry. The socially intelligent person does not take behavior at face value. Instead of labeling someone rude or cold, they ask, what does this action protect? What does it reveal about what this person values or fears? This shift from judgment to curiosity changes everything. Judgment builds walls. Curiosity builds bridges. When you replace, they are difficult with, I wonder what pain or belief drives this, you gain access to deeper levels of connection. But let us be clear, understanding behavior is not about manipulation. It is not about learning people's weaknesses to control them. True mastery is about compassion. It is about learning to see through the noise of behavior into the human heart behind it. A child throws a tantrum not because they are bad, but because they do not yet know how to express frustration. A coworker gossips not because they are evil, but because gossip gives them a fleeting sense of importance. A partner withdraws not to punish you, but to protect themselves from feeling too exposed. Seeing these truths gives you power, the power to respond with empathy instead of anger. Think of human behavior like a language. Every action is a sentence, every habit is a paragraph, and the whole person is a story. The impatient driver honking behind you is telling a story of stress or fear. The quiet classmate in the corner is telling a story of feeling invisible. The confident leader walking into the room is telling a story of practiced self-assurance. If you only listen to words, you miss half the story. If you learn to listen to behavior, you begin to read people fluently. One of the clearest examples of this is conflict. When people argue, the surface issue is rarely the real issue. A fight about chores is really about respect. A fight about money is really about security. A fight about time is really about love. Behavior is always symbolic. The words are the smoke, but the fire lies beneath. The socially intelligent person listens for the fire, not just the smoke. They ask, what is the need behind the words? What is the fear beneath the anger? And when they address that, the conflict dissolves. This ability to read behavior also protects you, because when you see patterns, you can anticipate outcomes. You notice that the person who flatters you too quickly may be hiding manipulation. You recognize that the colleague who avoids eye contact may be concealing something. You sense when a friend's sudden silence signals deeper pain. Social intelligence sharpens your intuition not by magic, but by awareness. You train your mind to connect dots that others ignore. But let us go deeper, because understanding human behavior also means understanding your own. Too often we study others while ignoring the mirror of ourselves. Why do you procrastinate on the very goals that matter? Why do you repeat patterns in relationships you promised to break? Why do you lash out at those you love most when you feel powerless? These behaviors are not random either. They are signals. They are your own inner story asking to be heard. Social intelligence begins within. Until you read your own behavior with honesty, you will misread others. So pause for a moment. Think about your last 3 reactions in stressful situations. Did you withdraw? Did you fight? Did you freeze? Each of these responses is a story from your past. Maybe withdrawal was how you survived criticism as a child. Maybe fighting was how you learned to protect yourself. Maybe freezing was how you avoided punishment. These are not flaws. They are adaptations. But if you want freedom, you must learn to see them for what they are, patterns, not destiny. The more you understand the psychology of behavior, the more choice you gain. Because when you recognize a pattern, you can choose differently. You can say, I usually withdraw here, but this time I will speak. Or I usually get defensive, but this time I will breathe. This is the heart of transformation. Not erasing your story, but rewriting the ending. And when you live this way, you give others permission to do the same. Imagine a world where everyone read behavior with compassion instead of judgment, where people saw the wounded child behind the angry man, where they saw the longing behind the silence, where they saw the need for love behind the stubborn pride. That is the world social intelligence creates. A world where we stop fighting symptoms and start healing roots. So here is my challenge today. Notice one behavior that usually frustrates you in someone else. Instead of reacting, pause. Ask yourself, what is the story behind this? What might this person be protecting or needing? Respond to that, not just the surface, and watch how the dynamic changes. If this spoke to you, share your reflection below. Because every time you choose to look deeper into human behavior, you not only understand people better, you love them better. And that is the real mastery. Chapter 13, The Art of Influence, Leading Without Forcing. Influence is not about pushing people where they do not want to go. It is about creating an atmosphere where they want to move with you. Too many mistake influence for manipulation, confusing leadership with control. But real influence, the kind born from social intelligence, is subtle, steady, and rooted in respect. It is the art of leading without forcing, guiding without demanding, and inspiring without dominating. Think of the great figures who have shaped history not with armies or commands, but with presence. Martin Luther King Jr. did not force people to march. He inspired them through vision and conviction. Mother Teresa did not manipulate people into compassion. She embodied it so profoundly that hearts could not help but follow. Influence at its highest level is not imposed, it is invited. And the invitation is powerful because it is authentic. Why do so many people fail at influence? Because they chase authority instead of trust. They believe titles or power will earn respect, but authority without trust creates resistance. A boss can command employees to obey, but only trust makes them believe. A parent can demand obedience from a child, but only connection makes them follow with joy. Influence is never about power over, it is about power with. It is not domination, but alignment. There is a hidden psychology to this. Human beings are wired to resist coercion. The moment someone feels forced, they activate what psychologists call psychological reactance, the instinctive pushback against control. If you say, "You must," they will find a way to say, "I will not." But if you say, "You can," they open themselves to possibility. The more freedom people feel, the more likely they are to choose your path willingly. That is the paradox of influence. You gain it by releasing control. True influence begins with listening. Before you can move someone, you must understand them. What do they want? What do they fear? What vision do they hold? Influence does not impose, it aligns your message with their values. If you want someone to follow you, you must show them how the path you walk also fulfills their deepest needs. That is why influence requires empathy, patience, and clarity. It is not about bending others to your will, but about weaving your vision with their longing. Imagine a leader standing before a team saying, "We have to hit this target because I said so." Now imagine another leader saying, "If we achieve this, it means more security, more recognition, more pride for each of us." The first appeals to authority. The second appeals to meaning. The first demands. The second inspires. The difference is the difference between obedience and ownership. The socially intelligent leader always seeks the second. Influence also flows through modeling. People do not follow words as much as they follow example. A parent who preaches patience but explodes in anger will never teach calmness. A manager who speaks of integrity but cuts corners will never build trust. Influence requires congruence, the alignment of word and deed. When people see consistency, they follow. When they see hypocrisy, they resist. Your life is your loudest message. And influence extends beyond leadership roles. Every conversation, every relationship, every moment of human connection carries influence. A friend who encourages you to chase a dream has influenced your path. A teacher who believed in you has influenced your confidence. Even a stranger who offered kindness on a hard day influenced your perspective. You are always influencing whether you realize it or not. The question is toward what? Do your words and actions lift people higher, or do they pull them down? To master influence is to master presence. It is to walk into a room and bring calm instead of chaos. It is to listen so deeply that people feel valued before you speak. It is to carry yourself with such quiet confidence that others borrow strength from you. Presence does not demand attention, it attracts it. And when you combine presence with empathy, people lean in. They want to hear you, they want to follow you. But influence also demands courage, because to influence well, you must risk rejection. You must be willing to stand for something even when not everyone agrees. Manipulators crave approval, so they bend to whatever pleases. True influencers stand firm in conviction, even when it costs them. People may not always agree with you, but they will respect you when your vision is clear and your actions are steady. And respect is the soil where influence grows. The most powerful influence of all is love. Not sentimental love, but love as commitment. The decision to seek the good of others even when it costs you. When people know you genuinely want what is best for them, your words carry weight. When they feel you care about more than your own gain, they trust you. And once trust and care are present, influence follows naturally. Imagine a world where people led this way. Leaders who inspire instead of intimidate. Parents who guide with respect instead of fear. Friends who influence each other toward growth instead of mediocrity. That is what social intelligence can create. It is not about gaining power, but about spreading it, lifting others into their best selves by the way you live and lead. So here is your challenge in your next conversation. Notice if you are trying to force or to inspire. Are you pushing someone, or are you drawing them? Are you demanding, or are you inviting? Practice aligning your influence with trust, empathy, and authenticity. Watch how quickly resistance dissolves when people feel respected instead of controlled. If this resonates with you, share it. Because influence is a ripple. What begins in one heart spreads into another, and the world does not need more controllers. It needs more inspirers. It needs you. Chapter 14. Resetting the mind, a new standard for living. There comes a point in every journey where information is no longer enough. You have read the words you have heard, the insights you have collected, the strategies. But without a reset of the mind, without a deep inner shift, these truths remain like seeds sitting on the surface of hard soil. They cannot take root unless the ground is broken, unless the standards you live by are redefined. This chapter is not about learning something new. It is about unlearning the lies that have chained you and reclaiming the freedom to live with higher standards. Most people live by standards they never chose. They inherited them from parents, absorbed them from peers, or adopted them unconsciously from society. A young girl grows up believing she must always please, because her parents praised her only when she was agreeable. A young boy learns to hide his emotions because every time he cried, he was told to man up. A worker accepts misery in a job because everyone around him says that is just how life is. These unchosen standards shape lives of quiet compromise. People end up surviving rather than living, fitting into molds instead of shaping their own. But mastery of behavior and social intelligence demands something radical, the courage to rewrite your standards. You must ask yourself questions most never dare to confront. What do I truly value beyond what I have been told to value? What do I refuse to tolerate any longer, even if the world calls me unreasonable? What do I demand from myself, not out of fear of failure, but out of love for who I could become? These questions cut deep. They strip away comfort, but they are the doorway to transformation. The truth is, the gap between the life you live and the life you want is not filled with luck or talent. It is filled with standards. If your standard is to settle, you will always stop short of greatness. If your standard is to avoid discomfort, you will never taste the richness of growth. But if your standard is to demand your best from yourself, even when no one is watching, then life will bend to your decision. Standards are not about goals, they are about identity. A person may set a goal to exercise, but until they set the standard of valuing health as non-negotiable, excuses will always win. Resetting the mind means breaking the chains of the past. It means refusing to let your history define your horizon. Yes, you were shaped by your upbringing, your mistakes, your wounds, but you are not bound to repeat them. You can choose a new response. You can set a new expectation. You can decide that fear will no longer dictate your choices, that doubt will no longer silence your voice, that pain will no longer poison your future. This reset is not a single moment, but a practice. Every day you ask, what standard will I hold myself to now? There is psychology behind this. The brain loves patterns. It clings to familiar behavior, even destructive behavior, because predictability feels safe. But when you consciously raise your standards, you force the brain to create new neural pathways. At first it resists. That is why change feels uncomfortable. But with repetition, discomfort becomes the new comfort. The standard that once felt impossible becomes your baseline. And soon, what once was extraordinary becomes ordinary because you have grown into it. Think about it. Every person you admire, every leader, every creator, every role model, they are not different because they were given special gifts. They are different because they chose higher standards. The athlete trains when others rest. The writer writes when others procrastinate. The leader speaks truth when others stay silent. These choices are not glamorous, they are costly, but standards are always costly. The only question is whether you will pay the price of growth now or the price of regret later. Resetting the mind also demands honesty. You cannot raise your standards if you continue lying to yourself. How often do you say, "I do not have time," when in truth you are afraid? How often do you say, "I cannot," when the reality is, "I will not try"? Social intelligence begins with understanding others, but it matures with understanding yourself. Stop hiding behind excuses. Face the truth of your patterns. And once you see them clearly, decide if those patterns are worthy of the person you want to become. This is where reflection matters. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, in the last month, what behaviors have I tolerated in myself that I know are beneath me? Did I waste hours scrolling instead of building? Did I silence my voice when I knew I should have spoken? Did I accept disrespect because I feared being alone? These are not small compromises. They are cracks in the foundation of your life. And until you say no more, they will keep widening. Resetting your mind is the act of sealing those cracks, of declaring to yourself, from this moment forward, I will no longer betray myself. But raising standards is not about perfection. It is about direction. You will stumble. You will fail. You will fall short. But when your standard is growth, failure is not an identity. It is a lesson. When your standard is courage, fear becomes a signal to step forward, not a wall to retreat behind. When your standard is love, even pain becomes an invitation to give more deeply, not a reason to withdraw. Resetting your mind means you stop measuring success by immediate results and start measuring it by alignment with your highest values. And here is the secret: when you raise your standards, people around you feel it. You do not even have to preach. Your presence shifts. Your choices speak louder than lectures. Friends notice that you no longer tolerate gossip. Colleagues notice that you no longer cut corners. Family notices that you no longer live by fear. And slowly, your standards ripple outward. They challenge others to raise their own, not because you forced them, but because you modeled a higher way of living. So today, I ask you, what is one standard you are willing to reset? Will you decide that mediocrity is no longer acceptable? Will you refuse to let fear decide your future? Will you choose to live with integrity, even when it costs you? One decision can begin the reset. One act of courage can break the cycle. One declaration spoken not with words, but with consistent action, can shift the trajectory of your life. If you have come this far, it means something inside you is ready. Ready to stop drifting, ready to stop excusing, ready to reset. Do not let this moment pass. Write down the standard you will hold yourself to. Speak it out loud. Live it today. And if this spoke to you, share your reflection with others, because change is contagious. And when you raise your standards, you give others permission to do the same. Chapter 15, The Final Call. Step into the life you were meant to live. There comes a moment when the journey of learning must become the journey of living. You have walked through the insights of psychology, the patterns of human behavior, the strength of social intelligence. You have seen the traps of insecurity, the power of influence, the reset of standards. But all of it, every story, every truth, every principle has been leading you here, to this moment of decision, to this invitation, to this call. You were not born to drift through life waiting for permission to exist. You were not born to bow to fear, to silence your voice, to trade your worth for comfort. You were born to rise, to lead, to embody the fullness of who you are. The question is no longer whether you know enough. The question is whether you will act. Because knowledge without action rots into regret, but action, no matter how small, builds momentum, shapes identity, and creates destiny. Think of your life as a stage. For years, you may have hidden in the shadows, watching others perform, telling yourself that one day you would step into the light. But today is that day. This is your stage. This is your time. The world is not waiting for perfection. It is waiting for presence, for your courage, your truth, your unshakable decision to show up as yourself. The final call of this book is simple. Stop waiting to become. Start being. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a time when fear disappears, when doubt vanishes, when the path feels easy. The only difference between those who live fully and those who do not is this, the first step. The bold, trembling, imperfect step forward. And once that step is taken, everything changes. Fear loses its grip. Confidence begins to grow. Momentum carries you where hesitation never could. You have learned that influence is not about control, but about authenticity. You have seen that confidence is not a gift from the outside, but a muscle built within. You have felt that social intelligence is not manipulation, but connection, the ability to see and be seen, to know and be known. All of these truths are seeds within you now. But a seed only fulfills its purpose when it is planted, watered, and allowed to grow. Will you plant them? Will you tend to them? Will you grow into the person you were always meant to be? The truth is this: the life you long for will not be handed to you. It will be demanded of you. It will cost you your excuses, your procrastination, your fear of rejection. It will ask you to trade comfort for courage, safety for significance, good enough for great. And that trade will hurt at first. But soon you will realize it was never a loss. It was freedom. Freedom from the chains of smallness. Freedom from the prison of hesitation. Freedom to live wide awake, fully alive. And as you step into this freedom, remember, the world does not change through grand speeches alone. It changes when ordinary people live extraordinary standards. It changes when you treat the stranger with dignity, when you choose honesty over convenience, when you lift others higher instead of pulling them down. Every act of courage, every choice of integrity, every moment of compassion is a ripple, and together these ripples shape the future. So here is the call: rise. Do not wait another day. Choose the standard that honors your potential. Speak the truth you have been silencing. Build the habits that align with your destiny. And most of all, stop hiding. You are ready. You are more ready than you know. The world is waiting for you to lead, not with arrogance, not with force, but with the quiet power of authenticity. This is your life. This is your one chance. Do not waste it on fear. Do not bury it under doubt. Do not hand it over to the expectations of others. Stand up. Step forward. Live with the fire that has been burning in you all along. And when you do, you will discover that the life you were chasing has been within you the whole time, waiting for you to claim it. If these words have spoken to your soul, then share them. Someone you know is still living small, still waiting, still afraid. And your courage might be the spark that sets them free. Let this book not be the end of your journey, but the beginning of your legacy. Live it. Lead it. Be it. The call is not tomorrow, it is now.
If you've made it to this point, you've probably realized what I have. You're not missing anything. You're not broken. You're not late. You already have enough to begin. The difference now is, will you honor what you carry? Will you stop waiting and start becoming? For me, the answer is yes. And I hope it is for you too.